Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What. Today we've got Becca Vines on and she's a digital marketer. Hi Becca.
Hi,
How are we today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Becca, do you want to jump straight in and tell everyone a bit about what you do?
Yeah, of course. So as Daniel just said, I am a digital marketing executive. I'm currently working within the recruitment industry. So I work for a company called Lucid Support Services, and we basically specialise in contract recruitment and project delivery. So my biggest role within the company is social media management, content creation. I do a lot on our website. So I work alongside our website developer and our content writer. And I basically just head up the whole marketing department. It's me and my manager. So we work really closely together to obviously pull together ideas, brainstorm campaigns, all that sort of stuff. So it's really fun.
Well, I'm a bit of a marketing geek in my own sort of spare time, so I love getting people like yourself on,
Yeah,
and the aspect you're in, digital marketing with a focus on content production, social media,
yeah,
is so exciting. It's a massive part of marketing going forward, and it's only going to
definitely.
grow, right?
Yeah, oh, 100%. If anything, I think the traditional marketing of just professional marketing, I wouldn't say it's outdated, but it's definitely creeping beside the
Mm,
digital marketing.
mm.
And I think it won't be long before digital marketing takes over.
So, using these social media platforms, how do you adapt from going from one platform to another? And for different projects, how are you sort of being flexible with what you're putting out there? From, I suppose, LinkedIn is very different to Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. So I think the biggest part of it, like you said, is being flexible. And you need to understand your target audiences. Your target audience on Facebook and Instagram isn't going to be the same as LinkedIn. And I think just doing that market research and knowing your audience from the get-go and just building that foundation is so key, because what might work on Facebook and a campaign that you do on Facebook might not work on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is for professionals. It is more for working and that kind of office environment, that sort of like sphere of work, whereas Facebook you can like personalize it a little bit more. I know obviously LinkedIn is kind of going down that more personal route, and people are being a bit more personal on it, but I do feel like the majority of it is still quite work orientated. So yeah, I think it's just knowing your target audience, doing your research, and knowing that it's okay to fail at something is quite important. Not every campaign is going to work. So as long as you try it and you learn from it, I think that's the most important thing.
Definitely. So why did you choose marketing, Becca?
Well, do you know what? It's a funny story because I kind of fell into it. So to give you a little bit of a background, when I finished sixth form, I did actually want to go to university and study psychology. But I took a gap year and started working at a different recruitment agency as an administration assistant. And from that, I went in and I did the admin responsibilities, but I noticed they didn't really have a big online presence and they didn't really have a social media presence. So I went up to my manager and just sort of said, would you be okay if I managed it and sort of took it over? He said, yeah, absolutely fine. Go with it. Obviously, let me just approve things and look over it. I said, yeah, no, absolutely no problem. And from that, I realized I just had like a genuine interest in social media in the online world. Obviously, social media is growing day by day, and there's so many more users. I think the last time I looked, there was sort of 3 billion users, I think there is
Wow.
now on social media. Like it's a lot. Um, and so for me, I felt like going into an industry like marketing and social media, you'd constantly be learning. Every day is a school day. And I just really enjoyed that aspect of it. So I kind of scrapped off the university side of things and just thought, what, I'm going to pursue a career in this. And that's what I've done. And I've just taken every single day and every single experience in my stride and just used it to my advantage, and known, because I have an interest in it and because I enjoy it, I know that I can put 110% effort into it. So yeah, that's kind of how and why I went into it.
That's really interesting, actually, because yesterday we had a guy on called James Alderman, and he was
Mm,
chatting about, graduates and how difficult they find it to get into marketing. If you
yeah,
go and do a marketing degree, sometimes after you finish that degree, what you've learned might actually be outdated, especially in
yeah.
social media, because it changes so rapidly. So
Oh, all the time.
the route you've done and how you've got on, would you recommend that to other people?
100%. Obviously, I don't think going to university is a bad decision. Like, if that's what you want to do, then go for it. Like, I'm sure everyone would completely support you. And I think to a degree, you learn different things at university in marketing that you would, experiencing it in the working world. But then on the flip side, you'd also learn, more practical things. And I suppose on the job training, then you, like, obviously doing it in an employment environment than you would at university. So I think if you're the sort of person like me who likes to kind of learn different thing every day and just do it, then I'd say definitely see if you can get the foot in your door, network with people. I think getting your name out there and getting a personal brand is the first step. If you don't want to go down the university route, get a bit of experience, do online courses. There's so many free online courses nowadays. The Google Garage Fundamentals of Digital Marketing is brilliant, 40 hours, and you get a certificate at the end. So you can prove to people that you do know the foundation knowledge and you can apply it. So yeah, I'd say definitely it is a route and it does work.
So what does a typical day look like for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say my days vary from day to day. But if I was to sit there and say my generic day would probably be going in, checking all my emails, seeing what I have to do on my to-do list, because with marketing, your job is never really done. And I think especially in social media, because people go on social media 24 hours a day. So I think where things happen overnight on social media, you do have to be aware of that. That's where obviously like the reactive marketing comes in. So obviously I have my to-do list. I know what content I'm creating for the day or for the week or for the month even. But there's also that element of being proactive. If something happens right there, right then, like an algorithm change, for example, you have to adapt to that. So yeah, I'd say I have a skeleton plan of my day to day, but it definitely doesn't stick to that all the time. But a big part of my job is obviously within recruitment. We've just recently, back in April, we launched a new website. So I've been working a lot with our website developer, just monitoring that and just making sure that, our Google ranking is constantly going up and just making sure that it's as user friendly as possible, really. So that's something I do every day, and the content creating, but a lot of it is kind of being reactive and proactive.
On that whole reactive side, I was wondering, obviously with social media, you've obviously got quite big trends in the way platforms work. Now, all of a sudden, like a platform can almost die overnight when a new one's released. How are you guys looking for the next platform to come out and see how you could potentially jump on that?
Definitely, 100%. I think when I first started in my career, obviously TikTok wasn't really a thing. I think it was Musical.ly before. I don't know if you've heard of that. And then TikTok took it over, or TikTok became a thing back in like 2016. But it wasn't until 2020 that people started using it for not only personal use, but for business use as well. So now a lot of people that we're trying to target, that new generation, that up and coming generation, that's the sort of platforms that they're going to be on. And I think video in particular is what is going to take over social media. No one really wants to read these lengthy sort of paragraphs now. People just want quick 30-second, 60-second video to know information, know what the next job is out there, know what opportunities they have, know how to, write their CV to get it noticed by a hiring manager. That's the sort of thing that we look out for. And so I think being reactive and responsive is so important, and looking for the next best thing, yes, but also making sure that what you do have is being done correctly and to its best ability.
I think social media, as I've said earlier, is such an interesting space at the moment because we get such a wide range of founders and people like yourself working in different industries. And the one thing that keeps coming up weirdly is social media is going into all of them, and industries you wouldn't even expect. So we had a venture capitalist on recently, and he was saying by building an audience across social media, he's actually able to do more deals and reach more founders and more startups than opposed to somebody who just uses the old-fashioned ways of trying to of that industry. So it's spreading across every industry, and there's so much opportunity, I think, in the next 10 years for young people or people that are in the marketing space to go to more traditional businesses and industries and say, look what social media can do for your business.
100%. I honestly couldn't agree with you more. I think there's still that element of social media that people miss. in the fact that, you know, they don't think it should be at the forefront of a marketing plan, when really, like, if you're looking at trends and you're looking at where people are, that's really where you need to target. Like, not everyone is going to be reading newspapers or magazines nowadays. For me personally, I don't. So I know that it is going out of fashion, and social media is where it's at. So I think in any kind of industry, in any kind of business, you need to understand social media, and you need to use it. It's so important.
You just touched on something there. How about the trends? How much are you and your team sort of looking at the data of what you're doing? So obviously, are you able to see how many people viewed your stuff on Facebook as opposed to LinkedIn, and seeing what's working and what's not working?
Yeah, definitely. So I obviously have access to all of like the analytics of things, and on a weekly and monthly basis, I look at it and sort of see where we're going right, where we're going wrong, you know, what we could do better in the next month, or, you know, the next week, whatever it may be. And I think it's knowing that, okay, this, you know, campaign or this post did really, really well. What is it about that post that did really well, and what could we do to make that better? I'm a big believer in recycling content. So, you know, if we were to write an article, for example, on the top 10, you know, tips to writing a CV to get noticed by a hiring manager, I would then put that out, and then maybe a couple of weeks later, I'd recycle that content through a TikTok video, and I'd just be sat there talking to, you know, my phone, or talking to an audience, and just saying it, because it's a bit more personable that way. You know, people aren't having to read it, they're just seeing it, and it's a lot quicker because you can do it within 30 seconds instead of reading it for 5 minutes. So I think noticing the trends and noticing what people want is so important, because I think within a lot of businesses, and it is such a subconscious, you do have a bias on things, and what you may want and what you may think could work. If the data is telling you different, you need to follow the data. As much as you probably don't want to, you have to, because that's what's working and that's what your audience wants to see. So I think being able to adapt and be reactive, I keep saying reactive, but it is so important, is key.
So yesterday we were talking with somebody else in marketing, and talking about the importance of portfolios. So for anybody that's just starting out on their digital or social media journey, to get your foot in the door at a company, it's so hard now just with a CV. And so their recommendation was to either showcase maybe a small business that you could even start by using your social and digital skills, which is very doable now, or just a project you've done for a local company or something. In your opinion, do you think that would be a really good way to help stand out?
100%, 100%. So from my own experience, obviously, when I started out in marketing, I was more admin and marketing. And the way to kind of push my sort of experience was through writing articles. So when I was at my previous business, I think I wrote about 4 or 5 articles, just, you know, generic ones of what I felt like was important. I remember one of them was how best to deal with stress, because it was Stress Awareness Month. And when I went to my interview for my current place, I took them and just said, you know, this is what I've done. This is sort of my portfolio, so to speak. And also this is my social media. And I think being able to display your own work is really, really important. But you know, even if you haven't had experience in that, if you can create something based on what you think the hiring manager would want, like, you know, a social media plan or a social media campaign based on a business, I think that's really, really good, because it shows initiative and it's really impressive. If I was a hiring manager, I'd be like, wow.
And for you, what do you think of some of the personality traits that are really critical for being in this role?
I think being confident, and to a certain degree being thick-skinned. I think marketing still in certain industries is seen as a little bit of an add-on. It's seen as an extra, especially in sales environments, because, you know, in a lot of businesses, they just want to make money. And I think in marketing, it's more of a long-term investment than it is, you know, turning around a sale within a week. So I think being confident, being thick-skinned, I think you need to be empathetic as well. Obviously, being a marketer, you are the bridge between your customer and your business. So you need to understand what the customers want and be empathetic to that, and then feed it back to the business and you know, show them that this is what works, this is what people are asking for. and being proactive. I think that kind of comes into all of it. You know, you need to be able to take an idea and act on it, work on it, and show what you think would work. You know, go to your manager and say, this is what I've done, this is why I think it would work, I've done market research on it, this is the return on investment I am predicting based on other campaigns that have worked. You know, doing the market research, I think, is such an important part. But yeah, definitely confident, thick-skinned, empathetic, and proactive.
I think you hit on a really good point there when you were talking about, you know, some industries look at marketing as an add-on and see sales as the number one important thing. But based on the conversations we've been having with founders, they are using marketing as an inbound channel.
Yeah.
And they are building trust, they're building relationships, and they're not even doing any sales. They're giving away, you know, information, they're giving away knowledge, and that's leading to, you know, you're basically getting way down the sales funnel just through your marketing. You know, it's not cold calling anymore. It's actually inbound digital marketing. So, you know, I think they're going to have to start taking, you know, paying attention to it. Because if somebody calls me up now and, you know, you don't really know who they are, it's a cold call, 9 times out of 10, you're just not going to talk to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For you, what would be the sort of number one positive of working in your industry?
Oh, the number one positive, I'd probably say the networking possibilities. I think being in the marketing world, so to speak, I think there's so many people out there that can relate to you in your, not even in the industry, you know, like I'm in recruitment marketing, someone else could be in retail marketing, but on a level you kind of understand each other and you can kind of bounce off of each other. I'm part of this society called the Girls in Marketing Society, and it's basically just a group of marketeers where you can join webinars and you can have monthly chats, and we have a group chat as well, which is really nice. And I think just being able to speak to people and get advice from people is so lovely. And I haven't really seen it a lot in other industries. Like I haven't really seen it much in sales industries or, you know, the automotive industry, for example. Like I haven't really seen that. So being able to network and just get to know other people, it builds that confidence in you, and you know you are doing a good job. Because I don't know about other people that you may have spoken to, but a lot of people I know, and I even experience it sometimes myself, is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
In that, yeah, it's such a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And it's because marketing is such a big industry now, and it's so competitive that you could look at someone's post and it has like 1,000 likes on it, and you can look at yours, which is quite similar, and it only has 100. But that doesn't mean you're less of a marketer. It just means that you're probably speaking to different people, or different people are relating to you. So I think being able to speak to others that are in a similar position, or maybe have been in your position and now 5 years down the line and are a bit more experienced in the marketing industry, it's just nice being able to have those conversations. But not only that, I think building a personal brand is so important, and being in marketing, you can do that because you're online all the time. Yes, okay, you're obviously being online to represent a company, but representing yourself, I think, is so important, if not as important, because people will relate you to that company, but they'll also know you as this person. You know, people know me as Becca Vines, the girl that's on LinkedIn all the time doing the videos. And I quite like that because it's quite personable, and people see me as quite a bubbly, happy person. And that is down to my personal brand, because that's how I always come across.
That is literally 110% agree with you. Building a personal brand in whatever industry you're in, you know, whether you be like you're doing on LinkedIn, I literally, I don't want to say it, but I almost guarantee you that wherever you wanted to take your kind of marketing skill set, as soon as somebody finds your LinkedIn, they'll be like, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Got it. Done.
Yeah, definitely.
Something about the views you said, obviously one post by someone else could have 1,000 so, and yours could have 100. Obviously with social media, the way these platforms give the posts to people who aren't directly following you, it's obviously sorted by an algorithm, and they could pop up at any time. How are you guys sort of maybe working around that or with that?
Yeah, so the way we kind of work with it is by knowing sort of what ranks higher. So just off the top of my head, I know that commenting on posts always ranks higher, and it makes the post appear, you know, at the top of people's timelines. So I think promoting, for example, if I was to write a post about If I did one recently, and it was a poll, it was about, should salaries be included in the job description? And it had a massive turnout. I think I had about 5,500 votes. It had over 100 comments. It had, I think, nearly 100 likes. But it was because it was quite a controversial thing, and it made people think. Luckily I didn't get any sort of angry posts like, yes, 100% it should be on there, how dare you think otherwise. But it got people expressing their opinions, and it got people talking and kind of considering both elements of maybe why it shouldn't be so public, and why it should. And something like that, you're targeting at people because you want them to discuss it. And that's something that I always try and get around. I want people to talk about my posts. I want people to relate to it. So that's how I try and get the consistency in things. But I do understand it can be quite hard because, each social media platform, it has the prime times and it has the prime days. But if you're just one person trying to get everything out at the same time, it can be quite difficult. So I think just persevere with it. Some posts will work, some posts won't. But as long as some posts won't. As long as you're being consistent with it and you're continuing a message, I think that's the most important thing.
And for you, what are some of the less favorable aspects of working in this industry?
I think I've already said it, but it is very competitive, very, very competitive. And I think getting yourself noticed can be quite difficult. But just be honest, be your authentic self. And I think that's where you will kind of be at the top of your game and you'll succeed. And also in that, it's, like I said, it's still seen by some people, not all. I think a lot of people are making that transition now, but by some people, it's not seen as that important in a business plan. Marketing is still seen in some industries as an add-on, which is quite sad, because I think it's as much as it's growing and as much as being quite it's quite apparent now that it works, especially digital marketing. A lot of the traditional businesses, old school businesses, as I like to call, they still don't see it as kind of top priority. But we're getting there. I'm a strong believer that, in years to come, it will be, top of the list and top priority.
100%. I think if anyone, from our generations is looking at starting a business, one of the first things they think about is the marketing plan for it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they make the Facebook page before the marketing plan's created.
Yeah. And also, is there something that's probably not in your job description yet you still have to deal with?
I would say that's probably being flexible, in the sense that, just as an example for myself, we've recently just won so we've recently won an award for Best IT Technology Recruiter 2021 at the Recruiter Awards.
Oh wow.
Which it was absolutely fantastic. Like, it was such a shock. We were there and we were sort of, drinking our drinks, and they were reading out the names of the businesses, and we just thought, oh yeah, like, this is our category. Didn't really think much of it, and our name got called, and we were like, oh my god, this is amazing. But being nearly 20 years running, the business has been going nearly 20 years, and this being our first award, it was absolutely incredible. To call ourselves the best IT technology recruitment agency is just fantastic. But being flexible in the sense that was something that happened quite sudden, and so I had to kind of jump on it and be like, okay, we need to shout about it, we need to get it out there, create a press release, make sure we get pictures out there, get our names in newspapers, local online outlets. And so that's what I mean. Like, some things can happen overnight. You need to be flexible, and you need to just take it, and you need to just make it big, and adapt to it. So I think that's quite important. But also learning new skills as well. I don't think in marketing anyone can call themselves an expert. I don't think I will ever be able to call myself an expert, because you just learn new things every day, and especially in digital, because social media changes every single day. So I think definitely being flexible is the key thing on the job description that isn't there.
I imagine that's quite funny. There's an award going, and you're like, oh, this is awesome, we've done really well. Yeah. And you're like, oh god, I need to start working. Where's my phone?
Instantly my head is going 100 miles an hour, thinking, okay, this is what I need to do tomorrow, these are the people I need to contact, and really I'm there, and I'm trying to indulge in it, but I'm thinking about what I need to do next. But if I could say a marketer's job, it's constantly thinking about the next thing, knowing what to do next, or at least, you know, attempting to know what to do next.
And would you still go into this industry knowing everything you know now?
100%. 100%. I think marketing itself is a growing industry, and I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't learn something new. And I like that, because I'd say the way I work is by updating my knowledge and just learning new things. I think if you're sat there doing the same thing every day, it can get a bit tedious, and you could sort of sit there thinking, you know, how am I going to progress in this career? In marketing, I never have to question that. I always know that there are progression opportunities out there, because, you know, it's forever changing and it's forever growing. So yeah, 100%, I'd go into it.
Well, Becca, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you and hearing all about your career.
No, thank you very much for having me. It was lovely speaking with you.
Thank you. And if anyone wants to reach out, maybe ask some questions, where can they find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. It's just Becca Vines. Or on social media, in Instagram, anything like that. Just pop me a message and I'm more than happy to discuss.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thanks, Becca.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.